Well, from the point of view of anti-theodicy, as Dewey Phillips has emphasised, the whole idea of greater goods that justify evils must be questioned. The central objection of anti-theodicy is a moral objection, that the ends do not justify the means. Even if it's true that all these greater goods exist, even if it's true that the evils are a logically necessary condition for them, grant all of that, okay? Allow the theist, the defender of God, or the theodicist, okay, to grant him everything that he wants to claim about the existence of these greater goods. It's not going to matter to the moral objection. The moral objection is, who among us is to tell the parent of a drowned child that this was a price worth paying for the rest of us to develop and exercise our virtues, or even to enjoy free will and a loving relationship with God? Before the burning children, will not these words ring hollow? Well, what is implicit here is what we might call Karamazov's challenge. Is it morally decent? Is it humane, compassionate? Is it consistent with goodness, let alone love, that this child suffer in this way in order to promote a more general good, or even eventually her own good? Well, theodicists seem to think so. Indeed, they must say so. And they do. Now, I'm not going to name any names here, but here are some actual examples in the literature which are intended to convince us of the propriety of the general idea of goods justifying evils. They point to examples that are common enough in human life. The point being to exhibit the general structure of the idea of goods justifying evils, and to show that we already accept this principle in practice in much of our lives. So here are three examples from the actual academic literature. One is of parents making a young boy in junior high school wear a daggy pair of short pants to school, even though he's going to be mercilessly teased by his fellow students. But this is good for him. It builds his character. He becomes a stronger human being by enduring this teasing. Good comes out of evil. Or in another example, a mother makes her child take piano lessons or go to school. Children often don't like taking their piano lessons or going to school, especially at first. And yet, in the longer run, it does them and others good. Once again, a good comes out of the evil, which justifies, in this case, the imposition, or in all these cases actually, not just the permission of an evil, but an imposition of it. And the third case is that of a parent sending their child to the dentist to correct something that's wrong with their teeth. I can remember going to the dentist as a young child and did not like it at all. It can be quite a frightening experience for some young children. And yet, okay, it's for their own good in the longer run. Once again, justifying good, okay, coming out of evil. But what do these examples actually prove? It's astonishing the speed with which the philosophers who put these examples move from these quite unexceptional instances, to cases of serious evil. The cases exhibit the same abstract logical structure, an instrumental structure. Okay? The evil is a necessary condition of the good, and the good justifies the evil. Now, because the unexceptional cases have the same abstract logical structure, the instrumental structure, the means to end structure, as the serious case, it assumes that they simply leap to the conclusion that the moral justification is equally sound, as if the difference in the seriousness of the cases is irrelevant, as if somehow or other it doesn't matter, okay, that the one case is vastly more serious and the other, by comparison, is trivial. Suffering can ennoble us, okay? And more importantly, bring us to acknowledge our dependence on God and bring us into closer relationship with Him, can lead us into holiness. Now this is, as I say, this is true, profoundly true, and I have no desire to minimize its importance, although, okay, it is also important to point out that it can just as often crush a person's faith in God, crush their hope and faith and passion for life. And it's far from clear which is more common. But put that aside for the moment. It is true that suffering can deepen us. As I say, I've no desire to minimize the importance of that. In fact, quite the opposite. Partly precisely because this idea is true and important. Precisely because this idea is true and important, I object to its vulgarization by turning it into a justification of imposing or permitting the evils. This makes God out to be a kind of a tyrant, a lord who tortures his vassals to wring submission out of them.